here have heard about what happened in El Paso this past year? Okay, how many of you have no idea what I'm talking about? Interesting. Okay, you're just here to learn about adversity. Great. So we're here with someone that I think is super brave and resilient and has been through hell and back. And we're really here to talk with Paula and learn a little bit about her life and what she's gone through and her advice to those of us who are facing similar struggles. So, Paula, I'm going to ask you some questions. First of all, you did not always work in animal welfare. My first question to you is, when you were a little girl, what did you want to be when you grew up?
When I was a little girl, I actually wanted to be a veterinarian when I grew up. I actually grew up on a little farm in Kentucky and had all the chickens and cows and sheep and dogs and cats that I could tell you all their names, but I know that we're not here for that, but that's what I wanted to be, as a veterinarian.
So life took you in a really different direction.
Life did take me in a different direction. I went to the United States Military Academy, served my country in the Army, ended up in El Paso, Texas, fell in love with the city, and still to this day am in love with my city, El Paso, Texas. And decided to stay and work for Parks and Recreation. I worked in Parks and Recreation for 23 years. Working hard at improving the quality of life of the citizens of El Paso. And all of a sudden, the city manager calls me into the office and says, tomorrow, pack up your bags. You're going over to Animal Services, and here's your goal. By 2020, we need to be no-kill. That's all the direction that I got. That was in July of 2017. And
Paula, you're like telling like 3/4 into the story that I have
all
like
right,
a million
I got
more
way
questions
more
about
stories
there.
to tell, but go.
Okay.
That's how I got it there.
So you're in Parks and Recreation. Are you an animal lover this whole time, or are you sort of put your like childhood desire to be a veterinarian to the side? Like, are animals part of your life?
Animals are part of my life. I actually had gone to the shelter back then, which was this whole silo on the other side of Parks and Recreation that I really didn't know much about, and adopted one dog at that point. Don't ask me how many I have now. I adopted one dog. I actually built the first dog park in El Paso when I was in Parks and Recreation. I actually built the first doggy spray park in El Paso. I was good at building stuff. And actually put in laws in El Paso, ordinance changes when I was in Parks and Recreation to allow pets in parks, because they weren't allowed in parks, in like athletic fields and playground areas and stuff like that. There was crazy laws there, and I had done that before I realized I was actually going to be in Animal Services.
Wow. Okay. So can you tell us a little bit about, like, you and I, we work in really similar towns, these border towns with giant populations of pets. Can you talk a little bit about the landscape of El Paso besides what you see when you're driving through, which looks like a giant strip mall?
It does not.
It does.
It is beautiful.
There's some cows too.
I should have brought pictures for the slides. But it is actually a very, I'm in love with El Paso, so she's going to get a little bit of a fight. Because El Paso is dry heat, like Tucson. Beautiful mountains, like Tucson. We are on the border of El Paso and Ciudad Juarez and New Mexico. So we have another state and another country right on our border, really, really close. The population is mostly Hispanic, 80% Hispanic, and a lot of military live in El Paso.
Paula, the wall, the border wall goes right through El Paso, and you can actually see over it into Mexico. How does that impact the dynamic of El Paso?
I'll be honest with you, I don't think it does. The border wall doesn't really affect the dynamic. It's been there for a while. How long do you think? A couple of years? The actual border wall's been there. I think they got the little seesaws. Have you seen that? Where the kids are playing in Mexico and El Paso, and they're playing together. I don't think that's really affected actually too much at all.
And people are crossing back and forth every day, right? For work and coming in and out of the U.S. and Mexico.
Yes.
So, and that means animals are coming across the border back and forth. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So your population is huge. When I think about trying to run your shelter, I think when I met you were taking in something like 30,000 animals with a budget that's about a third of the budget that I work with. What was it like when you walked into that shelter?
Well, it was like, first of all, a little bit of a shock because I did not realize how much was going on in animal services in El Paso. When I walked into the shelter, it was clearly a shelter that was built to kill. It was a shelter built to hold the animals for their hold period and euthanize. There was not nearly enough space for what we had intended to do. And we decided that right away. It was, the staff were motivated, and they had already started, when I came in, they had already started a reform plan. They had planned and planned and planned. Be honest with you, the first time that they said they were going to go no kill was in 1999. This was in 2017. They were still planning. There was no action. And so that's why I got called in, because I'm known for that. I'm known for action. I got called in, and we started action. We started policies and procedures. I mean, that's one of the first things. We changed our animal control over to animal protection and started the engagement piece. I mean, there was a whole bunch of things. We counted 168 changes we made in the first year.
So even now, when I look on your social media, I follow El Paso social media closely. You have more Shih Tzus in your shelter than than like a Shih Tzu pet store. What is with your population of these like highly adoptable animals?
You know, I thought it was the mom effect happening to me because I go to other shelters and I'm like, oh, our dogs are better than these. You know, I thought it was the mom effect, but now you're saying that. I'm like, yeah, our dogs are better.
Okay, better is not exactly the word I would use, but why are there so many highly adoptable dogs? Like, where are they coming from? Because you're dealing with thousands of animals in your population on any given day, including these animals that I can't imagine being in an animal shelter at this point.
It's really amazing. If you follow me or you follow our page, you'll see some amazing animals that we have. We do have a unique population in the fact that we have the U.S.-Mexico border, the New Mexico border, and we have the Fort Bliss, we have the county, and we also have an Indian reservation. All of those aren't under our jurisdiction, but we are the shelter for all of those. And so you'll see a lot of different variety coming into our shelter.
Do you, so you walk in, you go, I know you're taking in about 30,000 animals. How many kennels did you have when you came to El Paso to house all of those animals?
144.
Is that 144 dog kennels?
144 dog kennels.
And how many for cats?
About the same.
About the same. So 144 total kennels. And so if animals couldn't be housed, if you ran out of room, were they just being euthanized?
They were, until I learned a lot of stuff from you guys.
Okay, so you go in, you're like, what am I supposed to do? You start to learn ways to improve the situation. So what are what was your first year? What did you do?
The first thing was trying to reduce the intake and creating our strategic plan with the community and being transparent and saying, this is what we have. This is what we have to work with. What can we do? We engaged the community. I engaged other departments. We built more kennels quickly. They helped me. We built more kennels that would handle the large dogs. That don't get along quite. I know I said ours were better, but we do have some that don't like other dogs. So we got to put them separate. We built that. I think one of the biggest impacts, and you had that on me, is the foster program. You know, We don't have enough space in that shelter. Where else can they go? Foster. So we put a lot of effort into foster in the last 2 years. And very proud to say that we're over 6,000 animals in foster right now. This last year. The formula is a little bit of everything, increasing our adoptions, reducing our intake diversion, all of those things in the formula that Ellen talks about. I learned that in the first year, and now we're doing it here in my second year, and it's working. Not without problems, not without adversity, and I know you're going to talk about this later, but I want to bring it up since the class is about it. If you don't have that adversity, you don't have those problems, you're not going to grow. You got to work through those problems. You got to learn from failure just like you learn from success. You look at the success of the foster program in Pima, you learn from that. You learn from your failures, you learn from the mistakes that you make, and you move on. And you look at that bigger mission that you have, that bigger mission, dig deep inside, and why are you doing this? Why? What is driving you to do it? It's the right thing? Are you a public servant? Do you just love animals? Do you love people? To me, when I dig deep and I think, I'm here, and I was in Parks and Recreation, and I don't know if I'm off this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I am, what I call myself, first of all, is I'm a mom, but I'm also a public servant. And what I'm here to do is empower my team and myself to take El Paso to no kill and to keep it there long after I'm gone, so that my grandson doesn't have to experience any of what I had to experience in this last year, so that he doesn't have to get pictures taken and people taking things out of context, because El Paso's not going to be there at that time. We're going to have the space, we're going to have the means, we're going to have the education, and we're going to have the team and the community behind it, because I'm learning from you. I've been learning from all of you guys to make El Paso better. Sorry.
Wow. So just to set the stage a little bit, when you got there, was the shelter euthanizing for space?
Yes.
How was it, a daily, weekly? Like, how was that working?
It was not as bad as when they started before the reform plan, so I can't take all the credit because the team started before I even got there. But yes, daily use, and in the double digits and sometimes triple digits numbers.
So at a certain point, you had to decide, like, one day you were going to stop killing animals for space. What happened on that day? Like, was there a certain day you were like, we're not going to do this today, or did it just happen over time?
No, I can remember the day exactly. It was in February, and it was the day after Ellen came and said, here's what you're killing, showing me how to do my data, which, at that time I was a park guy or park girl and didn't know really that much about it. Showed us, here's what you're killing right now. How can you stop it? Where can you take away the low-lying fruit? Hopefully I'm not killing what Ellen says, but looking at that data, looking at what we were euthanizing, and stopping it right away. And also talking to the team that was doing the use. And if you talk to them today, they are the happiest team in the world, because they're not euthanizing like they used to. And we talked to that team, and the buck stopped with me. I made the final decision. We did it as a team, but when it came to a youth, it had to be approved through the director. And that little change started the shift.
Yeah, that's how we operate as well, that the director makes those life and death decisions. But you probably immediately, I'm guessing, and I don't really know that much about your first year when you stopped this, but I'm guessing you immediately were dealing with like a whole lot of animals that you had to figure out what to do with. How did you manage that?
One at a time. One disease, one challenge at a time. Ringworm kittens. Then we get the Maddie's Fun apprenticeships for ringworm cats and all these different things that I was like, oh, send these people everywhere, right? Adon's here. He has to do the travel. Sorry, Adon. But we sent people everywhere to learn. They came back with such excitement. And I said, okay, when you go travel, you come back with a plan and you start it. There's no you have to get a budget approval or anything else. We started it. So we started saving ringworm kittens. And then we met with Humane Society, started saving the parvo dogs. Just one little group at a time. And eventually, our youth now is 1 to 2 maybe per day.
It's amazing. So, okay, for the people that do know what happened last year, I want to ask about it in a couple of questions so you don't try to tell the whole story at once, because it's sort of an unfolding that I saw happening. First, when you built those extra kennels, a lot of those were in a relatively un-air-conditioned space, right? Those new dog kennels that you built. And some of the first challenges you had were keeping dogs happy, healthy in that really difficult space. Can you talk about those kennels?
So we built the outside, we call them the outside kennels, the OK Corral. And the original intention was to build them as a space to move the dog. I'm just going to tell you the truth. When I first envisioned them, to move the dogs while they were cleaning. But we were saving more, so they ended up to be housing. And it gets hot in El Paso, and it got cold like 7 days this winter. But they had heat. I'm telling you, what we did was we put the kennels in, and they have covers, they have shade, they have side cloths, and they have. I mean, we try to do everything. People went through it and looked at them and took pictures, and we're so proud of them and how great they were. But and we had, what is it called? The misters. So they keep them a little cool and right now we're getting ready to put fans up in each of the kennels. So each of them will have a fan. They'll have a heater in the winter. They're not outside kennels anymore. They actually turned into little indoor kennels. But I kind of like to go back on that if you want me to, before I get to
Yeah, please.
The kennels themselves. I do, I'll talk a little bit about what happened on August 3rd, but some of what doesn't come out in social media, I need to talk about. I need to let you guys know.
I don't think a lot of people even know what happened on August 3rd, so maybe you should start there.
I'm gonna
Oh,
start
all
there.
right, okay.
I'll never forget August 3rd the rest of my life. First of all, one of the things I pride myself in El Paso Animal Services is that we're an integral part of our city. We're not off on the side. We are in the city's strategic plan. We go with the city manager and the mayor when we go get awards for a well-run city. We're part of it, an integral part of it. So when one of us has an issue, we all do. And so August 3rd, if you do not know, we had a mass shooting in El Paso. It was traumatic for all of us. And you're thinking, oh, wow, how does that affect the animal? It was like 2 miles away from our shelter, just so you know. I went to 3 funerals of my friends. 3 of my friends were killed in that because it was our local Walmart where we go all the time. We had one of our adopters adopt a dog the day before he was killed. So the dog was sitting in our shelter waiting surgery. That not only affected the leadership, which I had to stay strong, but it also affected every single staff member and every single community member. We pretty much went through cleaning kennels, taking care of the dogs, but pretty much the city shut down. We were there for each other, but it was a hard time. The city shut down. There was no outcomes. There was little adoptions for 2 months. Rescues didn't want to come to El Paso. We had a hard time getting dogs out for 2 months. During that, this incident happened, where a picture was posted on social media. A picture of a dog in the outside kennels. And I gotta tell you, it's a dog that changed my life and a dog that's changed the protocol that we use. What happened was the dog was pulled under. I'm telling you the truth now, not what you heard on social media or in anybody's blog or whatever else. The dog got pulled under the kennel, a kennel where several experts had seen, but nobody could have seen this happen. Got pulled under the kennel and mauled by a dog in the adjacent kennel. We had to euthanize. He didn't get killed. We had to euthanize that dog. The picture was a picture of that dog. That dog changed my life. It changed how I looked at things. It changed how I looked at people. But it did not change my heart and what we're doing in El Paso. That dog changed policies. It changed how we place dogs. We went in and changed the kennels that day. We had engineers in there. Oh no, this is not going to happen again. We did everything we could right after the incident, not after the media. It was done well before the media even knew about it. It was done right after the incident. But that dog to this day is going to be the dog that changed policy in El Paso. It's the dog that made us more accountable for what we're doing. Made our kennel attendants more accountable for who they place together in kennels. Yes, we co-house, and we have a process on how to do it. And we changed that after that day. And that's how we do things. It was controversial. It was hard. And it was a hard time because my team was already going through emotional turmoil because of what happened on August 3rd. And I think this happened August 20-something. But we made it through it. We stuck through it together. We handled one thing at a time. And we always looked deep. And I always said, I know this is hard today, but look deep. What do you want to do? Do you want to save the animals in El Paso? Do you want to save the pets in El Paso? Do you want to help our community? Do you want to change the lives of the people of El Paso by doing this? Yes. The answer was always yes to the employees. And that's how one day at a time we overcame that. It was, and I can't say it was easy. And looking back, it's still hard. It's still hard thinking about that dog. I was there like minutes after it happened. And I'll never get that out of my head. And never in July of 2017 did I think I would ever have to see something so horrific. And I'm not giving you an excuse. It should have not happened. What I'm telling you is I learned from it. And I'll do everything in my power to prevent it from happening to any other dog. And they'll tell you, I was out at the kennels at midnight for 3 or 4 months, just guarding them, making sure that they weren't doing that to each other, because I'm not letting that happen again. And my team is not going to let that happen again.
So when all of this happened, I saw what I think you were, and we won't talk about particular organizations, but you were viciously and personally attacked to the point that I, as your friend, was waiting to hear that you had resigned. I couldn't, every day that passed, I was like, she's still there, huh? And I think many of us in the movement, quite honestly, were like, nobody's going to survive this. The attacks were personal, they were ongoing, they were sustained. And to the point that I think you even received death threats. And I want you to talk a little bit about that and how the hell did you make it through what is like maybe the hardest thing I've seen a director go through in terms of media?
I think that I was talking to my team about this earlier. And, you know, you throw challenges at me, I'm coming back at you. I am that type of person. You want me to lift 500 pounds? I'm going to be able to do it. I might not be able to do it today, but I'm going to be able to do it. I am that type of person. If I see a goal, and even if I don't see the goal, like the goal's in the future and it's far-fetched, but if you tell me I can't, I'm going to do everything I can to show you I will. And I instilled that in my team, empowered this team. I got 2 of them here I keep pointing at, but 150 something more back in El Paso. Empowered the team too. And I said it more than once. Are we going to let outsiders come in and tell us how we are with our pets? Because we know we're not like that. Let's show them. Don't go on social media and talk about it. Let's show them. Let's show them in our numbers. Let's show them in our data. Let's show them in our better dogs. Let's show them. And I'm type that's a fighter. It's just gonna, if you tell me I can't, if you write stuff like that, it's gonna make me come out harder and swinging harder and stronger. And yeah, I know some people will fold, but it's not gonna be me. I'm in this, and I'm in it to win it, and we are going to win it. And I don't mean win it like I'm the best in the world, because I'm not. But I work for my community. I work for the quality of life of my citizens, including their pets. And that's my job. That's who pays my salary. And when everybody's coming from outside, I just look within. What do they want? What do they want me to do? And that's what we do. What can we do to help the defenseless? And that's what we do. You just got to always look within.
Paula, when this was all happening, what shocked me the most about it is that while many animal welfare leaders really either privately or publicly attacked you, your own community stood by you and held you up and said, we're going to do this. How did you manage to get that level of local support that they just had your back the whole time and said, we're going to get through it?
Because there was no surprise. We were transparent. I was, and my team was transparent with the conditions that we were under at that time. We said we had too many dogs. We said it at council more than once. That's why we recently got $10.9 million for extra space. But we continue to be transparent. We continue to let them know. I was telling some people at dinner the other night, every time there's a new council person, I'm like the first in line. Okay, here's what we're doing. I got to let them know what's going on. That's my job, to communicate that. And then we will rallies. We have them all the time. We will do this together because we can't do it alone. So we got to let them know what's going on, and we got to do it all the time. Shout it from the rooftops, from the sideways. We've been into what is that patio place that you go to? We've been everywhere. Yeah. Sorry, SD. But that's what my job is, and that's what we do. And by the time this happened, I'd already done that. They already knew where we stood. And so when they get letters, and over 1,500 each city council member, when they got the letters, we know that's not true. They've been in the shelter the day before. I opened the shelter up for inspection publicly, and we had police inspections weekly, and I did that on purpose to show we have nothing to hide. We're not doing anything illegal. We're not abusing animals at the shelter, and if anybody is, they're fired. That's the way we work, and we were transparent about that from the beginning. And so when something hard came, it was easy for them to support me. So I'm telling you, make sure you're transparent. Make sure you talk to your elected officials. Make sure you do that from the beginning so that when you have to go through hard times, it's a lot easier. Because I really didn't have too much of a hard time. I did have to explain myself at council once, really briefly, and then at our board meeting. But it really wasn't as difficult as it would have been if they hadn't have known already.
Paula, do you want to introduce the members of your team who are here with you today?
Sure, I do. I have in charge of my community programs, SD Molina. And I know that the people that are in my leadership cohort always make fun of this, but I have a grant and research specialist, Adon Para. Research and management, whatever. He does it all. And let me tell you, he is the stat man. I go, okay, Adon, I need to know the length of stay of the county dogs or whatever it is. Boom, he comes in with it. It's magic. And I always go, Adon, go make that work. I need that. And he just does it. So I have one of the other things is surround yourself with an amazing team. Amazing, loyal team that will support you, that knows what you're going through, that understands, and that you can talk to when times get rough, because you're going to need that. We had again, on August 3rd, our city was shocked to the very core. And you know what? I got chills right now because guess what? It was bad, but Animal Services is part of that core. Isn't that pretty cool? We're part of that core. We were shocked too. It was hard, but we were shocked too. We weren't out in the island not being shocked. We were in with our entire community being shocked along with the rest of the city. And we're recovering together. And we will succeed because we have a community that wants it. And they want it bad. And they are El Paso Strong. If you haven't heard that one, El Paso Strong came out of that. And we use that. We're El Paso Strong with our animals in all kinds of other areas.
Paula, thank you, yes, okay, yeah. I know, we could just clap for every answer she gives. Paula, okay, so you and I compete on intake numbers, and I'm like, I took in this many, and you're like, I took in this many. How many are you taking in a month in the summer? Like 3,000 or something?
We got up to like 2,800 to 3,000.
In a month?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay.
So there are people who say, Paula, it's great you want to save lives and great you want to be no-kill, but it's an impossible situation with pet overpopulation, and you really should just focus on humanely caring for some of the animals and humanely euthanizing the others. What is your response to that?
My response is I will humanely care for all the animals in my care. And we will do that several ways because our community will come together and we'll foster. I hired a whole bunch. I lost track. 16 more animal care attendants to give extra care. We hired more training and enrichment coordinators. We opened up another adoption center, and we're getting ready to open up a third offsite adoption center just for cats. We're going to think of everything and anything that you haven't thought of, we're going to think of because we're outside the box thinkers. And we're going to do that because they deserve it. I don't believe in humanely euthanizing for no reason. We're going to find a way to help all the animals in our care. And while we're waiting, we're going to take some really good care of them. And we're going to take them for long walks under the bridge and up the mountain. And the soldiers are going to come in and take care of them. And we have so many programs going on that our animals are leaving happy. And if they have a little challenge, we send them out to one of we call it the Mission Valley Adoption Center, where they get a little extra care. But yeah, that's my answer.
I think one of the hardest things, so when you're running a shelter and you're trying to save lives, you're always going to have internal criticism. And we all deal with this. We have those staff and volunteers who are just, the throwing the criticism bombs. And we all joke that we're like, you can run this place tomorrow. We are happy to go home. But you had to keep your team strong through all this. How did you keep everybody motivated on the same page through what could have been sort of a target on your back for them to attack you too?
I think the really good thing is, number one, social media. I was ordered by my social media person to stay off of it. So I stayed off of it for a while. I'm back on it now, but stay off of it because it doesn't help. And ask your people to as well, because I actually have a couple people that we pay, and that's what they do. They're social media, our Facebook people, and they do that. So let them do that. But they also had to have some help because they saw all of the words that were said about us. So we just paid attention to each other. We have a peer support program. We help each other out and help each other get through this. But again, I empowered the team to make the changes. I empowered the team that's caring for the animals to make the changes. And they did. They came through for me. I empowered the team to send the message. And my people did. They sent the message that we're here to stay, and we're going to do this, and our community is going to be behind us. And to be honest with you, I really feel like the team that I have right now is going to be the team that takes us over that hump. They are fighting like crazy I'm getting pictures. I don't know if you guys get that pictures of what they're doing back home at the shelter and how they're making some changes right now and getting ready for some big events that we have coming up. I mean, that's exciting. That means everybody's on board. And be honest with you, the ones that aren't are walking out the door, because that's the only way that we're going to do this is together.
When I say kill weights, not pets, what does that mean to you?
That's my hashtag. I actually have I power lift a little bit. And I have a belt that says that, kill weights, not pets. It's kind of my platform when I stand at the national level, and they go, what's that mean? And I go, well, you want me to tell you how you can help us. So that's it.
Okay, but really, you're like famous, like you lift like 50,000 pounds or something. Can you tell us a little bit about, like, you were just on like Fox News or something? I don't, what's going on with that?
I'm the world champion power lifter.
So cool.
I have like 9 world records right now.
She is also somehow single-handedly getting the field of powerlifting interested in animal welfare. So
every single person in my gym has come to the shelter and adopted.
So, Paula, I want, it's so compelling. We have a couple minutes left, and I want to turn it over to the audience for any questions they might have for you about your experience or how you've survived through adversity, or anything about Paula, the person behind the mask of powerlifting and saving lives.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Priscilla. First of all, can I hug you? Thank you. I just want to say I'm from El Paso, and I started in the animal welfare in El Paso. I left in 2011 because of how frustrated I was with what was going on. I worked in Austin. I'm working for San Antonio Pets Alive now. And to hear what you've done in the last year really inspires me to come back home and help.
All
Thank
right,
you.
come back home. All
Thank
right.
you.
Hi, my name is, can you hear me? My name is Tori. I'm here from Lifeline Animal Project. Can you talk a little bit more about, what did you call it, the peer support program and what that looks like?
I sure can, and I can actually give a copy of our, we call it general order, but our policy on the peer support program. What the program is, it's modeled after the fire department and the police department, and it happens a lot after a major event. We actually started that when I first, my first day on the job, we had a dog that mauled a child out in the city. I can imagine that's your first day on the job. And the people that had to deal with that needed help. I was like, what is going on? We need help. So we brought in the chaplain from the fire department, and different people in the organization go through some training in order to provide that professional peer support, that private peer support that happens throughout the organization. We are early stages of it, but it's kind of modeled after the fire department, like after they rescue, say, a baby from a burning fire and have to see that. It's similar to that, and that's what we're doing. After they see a dog come in that's been mistreated, what can we do to help the employee right then and there? And that peer support program, we have a leader of it, and we have volunteers from each of our sections that provide that support. And I can actually give you copies of that if you want to copy it. Would that help?
Hey, Paula, one more question. If people, this summer, you're still taking in so many animals. And this summer, when you run into challenges and, anything happens that's a challenge in your shelter and people are hearing about it and they want to know more, what should they do? Because I feel like nobody really reached out to you when everything happened. What do you want people to do who have questions about what is happening in one of America's toughest cities for animal welfare?
I think it was nice. I'll be honest with you, a lot of people called. I think that's good. Sometimes it's great for a lot of people to come in. At that point in time, it wasn't that time because we knew what our issue was. We needed to handle it. There was personnel issues as well that I can't talk about, but we had some things that we had to handle, and it was great though because I got calls from a lot of people and emails and people wanting to come in and help more than even I needed at that time, and I think that meant a lot to me. First of all, it meant like, oh, maybe I am in animal welfare now because people are actually trying to help me. And it was cool. I'm part of the group now. I'm not longer the parks group. I'm in the animal group. And that was kind of cool. But it was nice to see that reach. I felt like that we are, as a nation, we are going to do this. And we're going to do it. But the only way we can do this is if we help each other again. And if our community, understand each of our communities are different, but helping each other through it is the best thing ever. And if any of you guys, if I see it happening to you or something similar, I'm going to be reaching out as well and saying, hey, can I help you? Or just, do you need to talk? Because sometimes as directors, it's lonely. You can't talk to all your employees all the time about what's going on, right? Because some of it's private, some of it is about other personnel, or some of the things just can't be shared publicly. But you need to talk to somebody. Find that person. If you want me to be that person, give me a call. I'll be that person because we all need that help.
Thanks, Paula. Thank you.